Number 8. Dennis MAZUR'S dogs. Mike Guerin set up a GoFundMe page for his friend Dennis MAZUR to help pay for his dog's exorbitant medical bills in the aftermath of a brutal porcupine encounter. The pet's tangled with the wild animal in the small town of Craven in Canada's Saskatchewan province. One of the dogs, named Nestor, was left with a muzzle full of quills, to the extent that the face was no longer visible. Soliger got off with just a few spines embedded in the lower jaw, similar to a prickly goatee. The most severe injuries, however, were sustained by Mahalo, who was instantly covered in quills. The problem was that the spines had started to migrate up her body, reaching the heart and lungs. She required extensive surgery, but ultimately joined the others in making a full recovery. Number 7. Pierced boa. It would seem that there's no creature that can emerge unscathed from a confrontation with a porcupine. Such was the case of a boa constrictor caught on video in Brazil. The user who uploaded the footage discovered the snake after their dog had started barking at it. The boa was covered in dozens of white spines after it presumably had tried constricting a porcupine. Once the rodent employed its defensive quills, the serpent was forced to slither away in pain. Even so, the boa still managed to coil into a defensive position to defend against the barking dog. No follow-up reports were released, but unless a veterinarian treated the snake, it's highly unlikely it survived. Porcupines are rodents from two families that together consist of roughly 58 species. The Old World porcupines, or Christicidae, are different from New World porcupines, also known as Erethizontidae, and the two aren't closely related. Cape porcupines from the former family can grow to be well over 60 pounds, meaning they're on par with Dalmatians or other medium-sized dogs. The Bahia hairy dwarf porcupine from South America is the smallest and may weigh 2.2 pounds, which is less than half the weight of a Chihuahua. Across the two families, porcupines are generally stout animals with blunt, rounded heads and mobile snouts. They occur in various shades of white, brown and grey. Like all rodents, porcupines have powerful gnawing incisors and no canine teeth. The coat of quills, arguably the porcupine's best known feature, is a formidable defensive weapon. These spines are actually modified hairs, which are coated with thick plates of keratin and embedded in the porcupine's skin musculature. The animal can use these spines to cause major injuries and even death to its predators. While humans themselves can also get horribly wounded by the quills, the greatest threat the porcupines pose is to their pets. Number 6. RUCKUS. RUCKUS, a Saint Bernard from New York, had a history of trying to befriend porcupines, as well as a tendency of not learning from his mistakes. The massive dog's escapade in July of 2018 left his muzzle covered in spines. Some of the quills punctured his face and jowls, while others had actually made their way inside the dog's mouth. It wasn't the first time that the pet had ended up at the Lollipop Farm animal shelter. Fortunately, as with previous occurrences, doctors were successful in removing the quills and thus guided RUCKUS towards a clean bill of health. Old World porcupines are heavily built terrestrial rodents found in southern Europe and the Levant, as well as most of Africa, India, and oceanic Southeast Asia. They're mostly herbivorous, feeding on roots, fruits, and bulbs. Some species have been observed gnawing on dry bones, possibly as a way of acquiring calcium. New World porcupines are much like their name would suggest, primarily found in North and South America. They generally inhabit wooded areas. They're known to often climb trees for food, and some species are exclusively arboreal. They'll feed on herbs, twigs, leaves, and clover or other green plants. Aside from the manner in which they interact with their habitats, New World and Old World porcupines differ anatomically. The former are distinguished by rooted molars, complete collarbones, and entire, not cleft, upper lips. Their quills are mixed with hairs, while Old World porcupines have their quills in clusters that don't intermingle with regular hair. Number 5. Bella May. In 2012, Bella May, a 3-year-old bulldog from Oklahoma, became unrecognizable after a gruesome porcupine encounter. Owners Jerry and Allison Knowles noted that the dog had been playing with their other pets near a pond on their property. At some point, she got too close to a porcupine and the creature attacked. The couple believes that the wild animal had visited their pond due to a dry season and scarcity of water sources in Oklahoma. In the aftermath of the attack, Bella Mae's face, neck, chest, and paws were riddled with over 500 quills. One of the operating veterinarians at the Animal Emergency Center claimed it was the worst porcupine attack he'd ever seen. Fortunately, doctors were successful in removing all of the visible quills. However, Bella Mae was kept on antibiotics and under observation as they suspected other spines could have remained trapped inside her body. Porcupine defensive behavior involves erecting the quills and using their tails as spiked clubs or pressing their backs against attackers. Because they're extremely sharp, these spines can easily impale tissue and end up in sensitive or vital organs. The quills may grow to be a foot or longer and become detached without causing any pain to the porcupine. Additionally, they have microscopic barbs that anchor them inside the tissue, making removal a very painful procedure. Through pressure, they migrate deeper within the tissue and may cause potentially deadly infection. Pets, mainly dogs, are at greater risk of getting attacked because of their curious nature. It's not uncommon for them to get numerous quills simultaneously stuck in their heads. When it comes to humans, even if they don't outright kill you, a porcupine attack may leave you very vulnerable. If struck in the eyes, for example, you may be blinded and forced to helplessly navigate the wilderness. Number 4. SANDRA NABUCCO. While pets are the most common victims of porcupine attacks, every so often, humans will also suffer a vicious quill stab. Such was the case of SANDRA NABUCCO from Rio de Janeiro. The 52-year-old woman was walking her dog and passed a lamppost when a porcupine dropped from above. It was definitely an odd occurrence and most likely a slip-up, as the rodents aren't known to attack people from tree branches. The incident left NABUCCO with roughly 270 quills embedded in her scalp. When describing the incident, the woman mentioned that the pain was enormous. She believed that if the porcupine had dropped on a child or an elderly person, they could have died. NABUCCO wasted no time in getting to a hospital, where doctors removed the quills from her head and gave her antibiotics to prevent infection. Interestingly enough, the porcupine was said to have survived the encounter. Number 3. Porcupines and man-eating felines. Even though porcupines aren't known to kill humans directly, they may inadvertently contribute to fatalities. Scientists have found a connection between porcupine-related injuries sustained by felines and their tendency of later becoming man-eaters. The Cape porcupine, found in Africa, is the largest of all porcupine species, and it will hold its own against one or even multiple lions. Records of these felines being injured by porcupines go back hundreds of years. In the mid-1600s, an official for the Dutch East Company in Cape Town wrote that the wounds made it harder for lions to hunt or consume their regular prey, which is why they sometimes turn to cattle or even humans. In recent years, a team of researchers studied the skulls of a pair of man-eating lions. CT scans revealed that one had been struck through the nose by a 9-inch quill, while another had an inch-long segment embedded in the nerve of a broken canine tooth. As such, one predator would have been left unable to smell regular prey, while the other could no longer properly chew through dense, fibrous meats. In light of these injuries, the pair started hunting humans. Today's topic was requested by Kyle Anino. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. For a long time, it was believed that porcupines can launch their quills at potential threats. It would make for a redoubtable defensive technique, but this has been disproven. The quills may, however, become detached and penetrate deeper into the victim's body. Porcupines are slow creatures and should be easy enough to avoid, which you should absolutely do if you spot one. Porcupines have several ways of telling you they feel threatened or annoyed. They'll raise their quills and shiver while also clattering their teeth. If these deterrents fail, they'll release an invasive smell produced from the skin above their tail. If you or your pet end up with quills embedded in the skin, don't try removing the spines yourself, and always contact a medical specialist. If the quills break or are cut off, they're much harder to retrieve. As they start migrating through the body, the risk of infection increases. Get your pet to a veterinarian as soon as possible, while also limiting its movement and attempts to paw at the quills. Number 2. Unnamed Brazilian man. An unnamed tourist was taken to a hospital in Brazil's Sao Paulo state after his right hand was covered in porcupine quills. The 34-year-old man had spotted the rodent in the woods near his vacation house. Not knowing anything about the slow-moving animal, the man attempted to catch it. As he pressed his hand against its body, the porcupine attacked and its piercing spines got stuck in the man's hand. He arrived at the hospital with pain and psychomotor agitation. Anesthesia was administered and the quills were extracted. He was prescribed cephalosporin and told to frequently wash the area with soap and water. After 10 days, his wounds were completely healed. Before we continue, official They Will Kill You merchandise is now available at theywillkillyou.com. Stop clowning around and check it out, because your purchases really help support the channel. Number 1. Odin. While on a mission, a canine unit named Odin was left with over 200 porcupine quills embedded in his muzzle. 2 of them were dangerously close to his left eye. Odin was chasing a felon at the time and unfortunately crossed paths with an enraged porcupine. The search for the suspect was suspended in light of Odin's injuries, and he was immediately rushed to a vet. He was treated for over 2 hours to remove the spines which had bloodied his muzzle. The attack had taken place in the Barview area of Tillamook County, Oregon. According to subsequent reports from Odin's handlers, the canine unit rehabilitation was successful and he was expected to return to active duty. Thanks for watching. Would you rather lie naked on a bed of porcupine quills or take a kangaroo kick to the stomach? Let us know in the comments section below.